Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the USGS NIWR Fiscal Year 2024 National Competitive Grants Webinar. Today's webinar will be recorded, so we'll have it available online. We're just working to try to get the link we created in the slide deck here toward the end. So my name is Jeremiah Asher. I'm with the Institute of Water Research at Michigan State University. If you want to go to the next slide. Here's kind of an overview of the today's agenda and things we're going to be covering today. We'll start by providing a little bit of an introduction about the National Institutes for Water Research, or NIWR, along with the state water centers and institutes. We're going to talk a little bit about the eligibility and how to apply for these grants. We'll hear from USGS on the FY 2024 grants and for the general aquatic invasive species and PFAS, including the research priorities for those. And we'll provide an overview of the RFP process and emphasis on the budget criteria, along with some USGS collaboration, which is encouraged for these grants. And then lastly, we'll have an opportunity to break out into some breakout groups at the end that you can select for each of the programs, the general, AIS, and PFAS. All right, next slide. All right, so provide a little bit of an overview for NIWR and under the USGS program. So the National Institutes for Water Resources are made up of 54 water resources research institutes that were established under the authority of the Water Resources Research Act. Each of the 50 states plus the District of Columbia, Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and Guam have institutes that are housed at the land-grant universities there. And those receive annual base funding through the USGS to support competent research, train future water scientists, and disseminate research results to the water managers and the public in those states. And we are separated into some regions. Today, the Great Lakes region, which is listed here in the purple area. Representatives here come together to bring you this webinar. We felt that there was a need for awareness for this grant program, especially since the geographic limitations of the program and kind of where it sits within the Great Lakes region here. All right, next slide. So regarding eligibility, any investigator in an accredited institution of higher learning is eligible to apply for these. The investigators in each of the state must submit through the designated Water Resources Research Institute in those states. That's an important criteria. We'll here to come. There's also a QR code here at the bottom for the WRRI webpage where you can find more information about the application process and additional details. And next slide. So again, when applying, work with your state water resources contact person in the Great Lakes. Those contacts are Amy Weckel for Illinois, Laura Essman for Indiana, myself, Jeremiah Asher for Michigan, Sarah Roth for Minnesota, Linda Weavers and John Lenhart for Ohio, and Melissa Boyce and Jennifer Hoxwell for Wisconsin. And application requirements might differ for each state. Again, so that's why it's important to reach out and talk with the state contacts ahead of time. There might be some letters of intent or other things that vary from state to state. All right, next slide. All right, the timeline for these, the USGS just released the RFP at the end of last week. Mid-May sometime, the proposal submission deadlines for the Water Resources Institutes will be due. And again, these will vary a little bit within the states. May 30th is the submission deadline for grants.gov, and those will get submitted through the state Water Resources Institutes. Again, these aren't submitted directly from the PIs or applicants. They have to get submitted through the state institute. August 15th, USGS will announce funding decisions, And in mid-December, money is dispersed to the Water Resources Institutes that were awarded. Again, there may be some delays in the time frame for this. It's happened from different times from year to year, but generally speaking, that's when they come out. Some other deadlines that may be state dependent, again, notice of intent for submission, and then also submission and budget justification reviews might differ from state to state for each of these. So again, please reach out to the state contacts for application information. All right, with that, I'll hand it over to Christian at USGS.
Hi, good morning. Yes, my name is Christian Schmidt. I am the program coordinator for the Water Resources Research Act program for the U.S. Geological Survey. And I'm just going to walk you through some of the priorities and the differences between these three competitive grants. So we have for the 104G, which is basically the section of the public law that we're referencing, there's three nationally competitive grants. There's the general, which has been around for quite a long time. There's the aquatic invasive species, which is limited really to the upper Mississippi River Basin. That one's been around since, I believe, FY 2020. And then the PFAS one has been around since FY 21, fiscal year 2021. So all three programs, we're focusing on water problems and issues of a regional or interstate nature. And we really are, we'll narrow in on some of the specific priorities in each of these three as identified by the USGS. In many ways, the USGS tries to use these competitive grants to augment existing priorities and research with the U.S. Geological Survey, and really trying to work with universities and the Water Resource Research Institutes to help us not just provide opportunities for collaboration, but also to essentially answer some questions that maybe we would like to see answered, because either we can't get to it or more eyes on the problem are going to be helpful. Next slide, please. So again, common objectives: promote the dissemination and application of the results to the scientific community and the general public, and also assist in the training of our future scientists, early career faculty, and really this part of that water community. I'm going to note this a couple different times when I go through my slides, but just to be very clear, we are not allowed to, we can't use these WRRA, these Water Resource Research Act.
Can you give me, I'm in the meeting, I'll let you know, okay? Maybe take about 30 minutes or.
We cannot use these WRRA appropriated monies for federal salary. And I'll just give a quick example. So let's say you have a USGS co-PI and you put together a proposal and you say, okay, we're proposing to use $100,000 of these WRRA monies, and we want to use $10,000 for this USGS co-PI for their salary, and we want to pay for one trip to Washington, D.C., for instance. Like, that's not allowable. We can't use these WRA monies for federal salary, travel, other expenses. There is an exception, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in this presentation, but just to be clear, for these three competitive grants. Next slide, please. So we're going to start talking specifically about these three, and we'll start with the general. So the 104G general competitive grant, again, one of the main ideas here was to promote the collaboration between the USGS and university scientists on significant national regional water issues. There are additional money. So for this one only, so we have the general, AIS, and PFAS. For this one only, the general, we do have internal USGS funds up to $40,000 per project that can be used for a USGS co-PI for either salary or travel or both. Just to give some context, last fiscal year, we had 27 proposals to the general, 7 were selected to be funded. Next slide. Okay, so the priorities as identified by the USGS, and I'm not going to read all the way through these slides, though they are available to you. The first general priority is the national scale evaluation of the water budget. So one of the really big national level priorities for the USGS water mission area is a water budget at the national level. So we really want to focus on how to use some of our existing or potential models to do this, either retrospective or predictive analyses. And we'd like to see some emphasis on the CONUS 404. The CONUS 404 is a national level data set. It's very big. It's very it's at a very fine scale, and it's what we've invested in the last 5 years in an investment with NCAR in Colorado. So focusing on that and how that works and how it doesn't work. Again, there's some more information in here to look at. Next slide, please. Could I get the next slide, please? So socioeconomics. This is a developing area of investigation for the USGS. Just probably in the last 4 years, 3-4 years, we've started to put more investment into this. And again, integrating ongoing USGS research and data collection, essentially to assess socioeconomic ecological vulnerability, particularly around extreme events. So this one, trying to pull out a couple of big ones. There's a lot of talk of this and how to do it, and a lot of thought exercises, but even for better investment into actually, that second bullet on the bottom, construct utility functions of actual decision makers, consumers that are used in the model rather than hypothetical thought experiments. So again, socioeconomics, we've been investing internally a little bit into this. We'd like to see it also in these general competitive grants as a priority. Next slide, please. Model advancement, like with anything else, what can we do with our existing models? How can we sharpen them, make them better, make them and lower the uncertainty in them? So exploring methods to develop new hydrologic models in a geographic area, and maybe provide information on promising modeling approaches, especially as it could inform specific questions in a region. We also internally have been investing more effort into AI ML. Yes, thank you. Next slide. That's good. No, you're good. You can go to the AIS. Okay, AIS. So this is a geographic specific competitive grant. It is nationally competitive, but the project must fall within this delineated area in that image there. So essentially, upstream of the Ohio River confluence in these states, the project area must be in there. Now, any WRRI can put a proposal in, but it has to be, the project area has to be in this delineated basin. And let me think. Oh yeah, something to point out. This one's been around for several years. It's been around since, I believe I said 2020. Last year we had only 8 proposals, 5 were selected. And this actually has a maximum, I believe this one has in the RFP, this has a maximum award of $348,000. Yeah, that's right. All right, so again, AIS effects, characteristics, and management. I'm not going to read all the way through this slide, but this is the guidance for prioritization for AIS. I do want to point out, as far as management goes, we're not looking for physical control of AIS when we talk about management, but research on the assessment of the detection, spread, and management, and how that connects to human influence, human land use. So this does not include physical control of AIS. Next slide, please. PFAS. This one's been around since fiscal year 2021. Last year we had 34 proposals, 11 were selected. The max award is $310,000, which is the same as the general. And again, there's obviously a lot of interest in this in the last 5 years. I'm sure many of you have seen the recent press releases from EPA identifying this for potential water quality standards or water quality benchmarks. So EPA is taking it very seriously. Most of their interest obviously is around public water supply and public and domestic consumption. This is again a targeted competitive grant towards PFAS. We have a lot of internal science and monitoring and priorities, but you can get more information here at this link by on this slide. Next slide, please. So the priorities: media-specific methods for enhanced methods of detection, newer different compounds, newer different approaches to detection in ranked order, looking for better methods for tissues, plasma, followed by sediment, followed by air interfaces, lastly followed by water. So just trying to call that out. We do have pretty good water methods. The USGS actually just published a detection method for water, I think, 1.5 years ago. So we're looking for some of the other sources. Atmospheric sources, atmospheric exchange and PFAS distribution and fate. Again, this is kind of an area that we don't have a lot of information, so we're looking to do some internal work, but also to put this out as a priority in this RFP. And I should have mentioned earlier, all this information, all these priorities are listed, were just pulled directly from the RFPs. So they're in this slide deck. They're also directly listed in those requests for proposals as well. And then processes at the molecular level. Again, this information is available. Next slide, please. And this might be is this my last slide, Sarah, I think? Anyway, so just to cover it one more time, we do encourage collaboration across all these competitive grants, the general, PFAS, and AIS. Federal employees may not be a PI, but they can be a co-PI. And we cannot receive federal agencies, whether it's us or it's NOAA or it's any other co-PI you might have, they cannot get funds from this. So even if say your proposal calls out Fish and Wildlife Service, you cannot ask for funds from this proposal to be used for that Fish and Wildlife Service person. The only proposal where we can maybe augment that is for the general, the 104G general. In that proposal, there is internal USGS funds available for a USGS co-PI up to $40,000 per project. Next slide. Please get the next slide. Thank you. So here are some contacts in your area in the Midwest, and I'll just look at this very quickly. So the way the USGS is set up, I'm the program coordinator for this particular program with our water mission area based out of DC. All the states in the Midwest and really all the states in the country are attached to a USGS Water Science Center. And what you see here on that first row are the directors for those respective centers. So if you're interested maybe in getting a hold of a certain a center, or you want to maybe reach out to find a co-PI, Kelly Werner for Illinois, Jeff Fry for Indiana, Steve Peterson with the Upper Midwest, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Dave Straub in Ohio. We also have another ecosystem-centric science center, the Upper Midwest Environmental Science Center, and that director is John Amberg, there at the bottom right. And then the two other contacts, Josh Valder and JC Nelson, work for our regional office, and they also can help you coordinate and talk about some of the different science, especially if you're going to cross states or our more regional approach. Those might be good contacts for you as well. And with that, I believe I will hand it off. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. There was one question in the chat real quick before we move on. Can you define molecular level? Does that include molecular biology mechanisms of response to PFAS?
I'll have to follow up on that one. I'll have to talk to our PFAS review panel lead, but it should be if it's not clarified in the write-up in the RFP, then please reach out to me directly, and I'll look into that for you. Who did that come from? That came from Aiken.
Yes, Van Aiken. Yep. Benoit. So, okay, thank you. Yeah, it turns out these breakout rooms are going to be very, very difficult. I have to assign each person separately, so I'm not sure how this is going to work. But anyways, let's continue with the budget requirements. So I believe Christian already mentioned this, but up to $310,000 in federal funds can be requested under the 104G general and the PFAS opportunities. And the AIS, you can request up to $348,000. The proposals can be for up to 3 years, but budgets should be prepared in 12-month increments. Next slide, please. The budgets also require a 1-to-1 match for the project as a whole and in each 12-month budget period. F&A, facilities and administrative or indirect costs, whatever your institution calls them, they cannot be paid from the federal funds, but they can be used, both those amounts of the federal request as well as your match. The F&A can be used as match, so you don't have to bring as much maybe PI effort in kind of funds. Next slide. So here's an example budget summary, and so I'll just kind of walk through it a little bit. The rows are direct costs, F&A on the federal portion, F&A on the non-federal portion, and then the total amount requested. And then across the columns, you've got your federal request. So this would be an example of maybe the general budget, $310,000. And so you can see for the match column, which is the non-federal column, the direct costs that are being brought are only $90,500, only $90,500, because you can claim the F&A on the federal portion, which 55% as an example of 310,000 is $170,500, and then you can also claim that amount on the non-federal portion, and so 90,000 times 90,500 times 55% is 49,775, and so that really brings your match up considerably. And just to note that the F&A will differ in each state, so make sure you contact your Water Resources Research Institute to get that correct percentage. Next slide, please. Okay, PIs can request salary from the federal funds, but only up to 2 months of salary per year. And the budget justification, these you really need to provide a lot of details in these budget justifications. You need to justify and distinguish the federal funds requested from the match contribution. And the budget justification template allows for that. There are 2 separate sections under each funding category. And like I said, provide as many details as you can in terms of the number of samples you plan to test, the type of kit you plan to use, and how many samples that kit can test, and the number of tests that you'll need, and the cost per test. And the subawards, any subawards that you have, also need to provide the same level of detail. And like I said, the USGS does provide these templates, and they're pretty self-explanatory, but reach out to your Water Resources Research Institute if you have questions or concerns. Thank you. Christian, I think you were going to talk about this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so there's some common budget issues, and so when it comes to getting these awards out and executed, there's a few things just to point out. More detail, the better. Like when it comes to how many students are being covered, what does that mean for the rates, the total amount per semester? When it comes to supplies, like the name, how many units, like the cost per unit. I mean, a lot of this, it feels like a lot of work, but it's also really necessary for us to execute these funds quickly. The more detail, the better. The more detail you provide, the easier it is to actually get these executed and awarded. There are some unallowed costs that we often see in these budgets. And this is actually listed. People will want to provide a gift, or they want to have a gift card, or they want to provide a gratuity. Maybe they want to cater food. Sometimes, they want to buy office chairs. Like, it's just, there's some things that simply aren't allowable. Indirect costs, you got to include the indirect rate agreements. For equipment, this is a new rule, a new requirement from this new OPM requirement for the government. If it's over $5,000, we need a manufacturer's quote. And the last one's probably the most important one. Subawards from a WRRI to another institution or another university, they need just as much detail as in the full budget. That's often one of the biggest hangups when getting these executed, is that maybe a person did a great job with the budget for the overall proposal, but when it came to subawards, they started to leave out a lot of details, and then we have to go back and forth to try to get those in line so that they can be executed. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so free advice. Here you go. Here's all the tips you need for making the proposals competitive and hopefully successfully funded. Make sure you connect with other teams who are also applying to the same RFP, because there's a very low chance that USGS will fund two proposals that are similar. Differentiating the proposals will improve everybody's chances. Including a diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice section is encouraged, as well as student involvement. Student involvement, I think, is pretty much required by this program as part of our water resource mission. Regionally or nationally important doesn't mean you need to spread people throughout the region, but that the research needs to be regionally relevant. And make sure you read the review criteria from the RFP as you write your proposal. Like, really dig into the details, and that will serve you well in the process. And make sure you answer the specific priorities stated in each of the RFPs. Next slide, please. All right, I did see
there. I'm wondering if Christian wants to tackle a couple of these budget questions in the chat before we break out.
That would be great.
You're still muted right now, Christian.
Yeah, let me try to answer them right here. So, does the rule about USGS not getting funds mean that they could also not get funds for equipment and supplies or sample analysis? Yes. The answer to that is that rule applies. Like, you cannot, the funds cannot be used for any USGS cost, not salary, not travel, not lab supplies, not equipment that the USGS would use. Same question, can USGS funds be used to pay for lab testing for PFAS at a USGS lab? Just lab costs, not personal. Grant funds cannot be used to fund any USGS costs. So now that one's a little trickier, because if you're contracting with the lab, it might work, but again, that might be a case-by-case basis, but it can't really be used for any USGS costs. It's not supposed to come back to us. If we receive a discount on equipment for a project, can that project-specific discount be counted as part of the match? I'm 85% certain the answer to that is no. If we have registration costs as part of our proposal, at which food will be served, is that an allowable expense? Yes, if you're simply paying for registration costs, and you're like, if you pay, I'm trying to understand this question, Andrew. I think what you're asking is if you have, if part of your proposal is to present at a conference, or you want to attend a conference, if the conference registration to attend a 3-day conference is $200, that's allowable. You're not offering to host a conference and serve food there, and then you would use the money to buy food at the conference. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I think that makes sense.
So to attend a conference, that's great. If they also serve food while you're there, that's okay. But you're not buying food so you can host a meeting. You can't do that.
Gotcha.
Are non-university entities other than federal agencies allowed as collaborators, for example, nonprofits? And can any funds under one of these awards be used for non-university partners? I have to check. For WRRIs, you can do sub-awards, but they have to be sub-awards associated with your institution. So I think they actually have to be university entities. I'm not sure that you can do collaborators, but you know what, William, let me check on that one and I'll get back to this chat. Can USGS be funds to pay for graduate student stipends in a university outside the US? That's a tough question. That's a really hard one. Let me get back to you on that one too. Is that, I guess the question would be, is that university the WRRI or associated with the WRRI? Or is that university, you know, a foreign university that's not associated with your Water Resource Research Institute? I think it is Carleton University. So the student, if the student's at Carleton, let me look into that one. You guys asked some great questions. Per diem for travel is allowed. Yep, per diem for travel is allowed. That's right, Sarah. All right, I think I hit them all.
Awesome. Thank you, Christian. All
Okay,
right, I think at this point, Amy's going to start slowly sending people into the breakout rooms. There will be a facilitator in each of those. But really, they're just an opportunity for discussion, collaboration potential. If you want to talk about areas of interest with others in that topic, or if you're interested specifically in collaborating, those are opportunities for that to happen there. I would say the facilitators might not necessarily be the experts on that topic, so they might not be able to help you with those kinds of super detailed questions, but just to help facilitate that, or questions about the bigger process, the RFPs, how to apply, and things like that. But if you have any like higher level questions or budget questions, you're welcome to just stay in the main room, and there'll be someone here who can help tackle those as well. So if you have not yet, please put your breakout room preference in the chat, and Amy will be working on those.